next painting that I'm working on. And my idea was that I would get this to a certain state, and then if we wanted to actually do some painting, that I could show you from that state on, right? Because we don't have time to do this all night, because it would take all night. And I did this, and I said, that has a problem. Can you see what I thought my problem was? It's too tight on the edges. That dragon is like off the thing. So I actually started over and took the same source to doing the lines. So I did I used colored pencil, and I've got the name of the colored pencil. I like this colored pencil because it is fairly resistant to turpentine, not completely. If you put the terps on and you scrub it, it goes away. But it's a Faber-Castell, and the color is Gold Faber, or it's number 283, and I put that in the notes. It's the one I like. It's a raw sienna, burnt sienna kind of color. I think it's burnt sienna color. And I like it because it has that same transparent red oxide kind of feeling to it. So if it shows through, it looks just fine. Whereas if you use a pencil, if you use charcoal or something else, it'll look like Minerva Teichert when you get done. So.
Which is not bad.
Well, if you like that style, do you want to really see the lines, or do you want the hint of lines? And that's where I end up. I have a great appreciation for work. It's just would give you a different style, right? And that's not the style I'm after. The other thing that has happened here is I have gone in and I use cheap Master's Touch, Hobby Lobby, metallic pens, because I like the colors. I like this as a copper, I use this, and I also use this one, which is gold sometimes. And it hardens my lines because I do lose some of the lines with this pencil, but I don't lose the lines here. So the lines that I really need to make sure that I keep are the ones that I do this on. Yes, I've drawn it now 3 times, but I've got a drawing, and I'm sticking with it, and I'm going with it. All right, so let's do this together. I have a photo for you that is out on my website, brain.com. I chose a couple of them, but let's go back to this here, and go back there, and let's start with this one. This is one that I just did, and what I did was I brought in this photo, okay? Now, how do you bring in the photo? We'll start with I'm going to take every step for you here, and we're going to do another one just like this one that I did practicing. And we're going to start with a new canvas. The plus is in the upper corner, it gives you new canvas. And you can see on my canvases that I have pre-sized canvases. So if I'm going to do a 9 by 12 or an 8 by 10, they're slightly different sizes. I want them exact to the right number of pixels. And the way that you figure out is you want either 200 or 300 pixels per inch. And so build yourself some canvases. I have ratios, 11 by 14. But I decided for today we would do something that was square because I think you all have a square built into your system. So I chose square there. And now the next thing I need to do is I need to decide what my composition is. So I'm going to pull in a photo, and you do that on the wrench over here. You press on the wrench, and there's a thing in there that says insert a photo. And I'm going to pull this photo that I have, and that's my photo. Are you able to see that okay, or am I leaning over too much? Sit down here. So there's my photo. What am I going to do with that for composition? I have to decide. And you may change it later, but you're going to do rework. If you can get it figured out to start with, then you're not gonna have to make changes later. So I looked at this, and at first I did this, and I said, that is so, it's so tight on the edges. Keep relearning that if I make it too tight, that it doesn't always look good in a frame. It gives a tension to the painting. And a lot of you know when you compose things, when you're putting on the canvas, you know that, right? Or at least you've experienced that. So what I did in this case was I took her and I brought her in like this, just a little bit less, and then stop. I'm shaking here because you all make me so nervous. And then I gave myself on this layer here on my background color, I gave it a color that was kind of gray, so that sometimes I'll actually do the work cloning to try and get it looking, like the neck is extending. That's not really important here. But if there's a white border, it distracts, it kind of tricks your head when you're trying to do the drawing. At least that's what I found. So now I have that, and now I just jump into it. I say, now I'm going to use all my drawing skills. And I do like to see how close I can come the first time, but I'm going to be quick today. So I have my canvas, it's the same size. It's square, right? So I could do any size here. And I have given all of you who want to try this with your iPad, I've given you a square piece of paper and a pencil if you want to do this. And if you need space, don't worry about going back to one of those tables in the back and try it. I'm really, if you would like to really work along with me, I've tried to set this up so we can do this for the next few minutes. All right, so now I'm going to start putting her on there. And let's see, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for me. Like that. And start getting my lines. And I find that unless I'm really trying to prove, we were talking earlier in the staff meeting about how in the old days we would go out plein air painting in the cold weather just so we could say we did it. I went out when it was 15 degrees. And if I'm really trying to see how close I can draw, then I will take more time on this. But it also works to be quick. You can put some lines on there. That line's going to be wrong. Get an ear in there. And I purposely chose this as a test because it's not a standard face, because she's looking up, right? She's got the egg shape, and you've got all those curves that are going up. And that's the kind of thing that I get wrong a lot. I get things close, it begins to look like it is, it begins to look like I think that I knew what I was doing, but I find in the end that there's little things that are not in the right place. And so that's where I use this compare process. All right, so we're going to give her a chin here. I'm going to give this, I think that's about the right distance there. And this comes down here like this. I've got some eyes here. Probably there. I better start getting my nose holes in because they're... Now, if you've taken a class from Dan Wilson in drawing, he might throw up if he saw this because he has a great process for drawing, and I think the most of him and his method of teaching. But I've kind of abandoned this, and that's why I brought in all the drawings, to prove to you that I can draw. But this is constructing the drawing. So I'll get that eye in there, and I can start putting in. Can you see what I'm drawing there? Oh yeah, it looks really good actually. Or it's dark enough. Get that in there. Got those two nose holes. I've got a shape like this, like that. And we've got the nose in there, and we've got the lips are almost like dead set in the center vertically, right? So we'll put some lips in there. Another line for lips. I've got this interesting shadow here coming down. I've got an ear here, and I want it. It's tempting to say, okay, I'm going to work on that, and you can, but some additional lines, even if they're in the wrong place, are going to help in the next step. step. So I'm gonna kind of put her hair down there like that. She's got an ear. I'm gonna put her neck, and I can already see that that neck's gonna be, that chin line is probably not gonna match up, but that's okay. In fact, I'm gonna draw another chin line there, and we'll do this. I work on ABS. I love ABS for my process because it feels like paper, and it draws like paper.
Question, she wants to know what's ABS?
I don't even know what it stands for. It's plastic. It's a plastic that they use to make stuff. And I have brought, I cut about 14, 15 pieces of 8x10 ABS. And if you want to buy them from me for like $4, they're over there. You can come up and feel these, but it has a feeling that's a lot like a piece of paper to it. It takes, that's why I like the pencil, and it erases. I mean, so you're not supposed to erase. And this process would also work if you're a person who likes to, some people like to draw with their turpentines, you know, kind of a wash. They'll like to put it on, and they'll take a rag and they'll pull it off. And I've done that too. It works great, but I've gone back to drawing because it lets me get the really fine details where I want them. But this would also apply, this process would also work for if you're doing watercolors. There's no reason why it wouldn't. There may be more lines there that we want. On an oil painting, those lines get covered up, right? But certainly for oils or acrylics, it would work just fine.
Yeah.
So is that an AI image?
I did pull this, it's an AI image, yeah. Okay, and I should keep trying this, but I'm gonna say it before I forget. When you get an AI image, it is free, and you are responsible to make sure that the anatomy is correct. And one of the failings, it's getting better, but one of the failings is the number of fingers. And I can't tell you the number of images I've gotten. I said, wow, that's a really good image. There's 6 fingers there. And this little girl right here who's praying right there, it was a wonderful image, and the hand was wrong, and I got a young teenager to let me model her hands, and I got the light in the right, and I took photos and actually superimposed it in the right place so that I had hands that were right. I know artists that have model friends and they pay for models, and I'm just too cheap right now. Maybe that time will come for me. But. All right, so I have this. Now it's time to get it into Procreate. And there are a couple of ways to do that. One is that up here, you can do insert, or you can take a photo, and you can use your camera on your iPad to take the image. That's not what I prefer to do, but I'm going to do it the first time just to show you, and then I'm going to show you what I prefer to do. Okay?
So you have to watch out for that parallax though, to make sure it's completely.
No, you don't.
You don't.
You don't.
How do you do that?
I did some tests, and the test that I did was an image with grid on it. And I tried at all sorts of angles, and the grid did not vary hardly at all. I can show that to you if you want, but I'm convinced that the parallax, the way that I do it, is not a factor.
It's not a problem.
It's
Okay.
not a problem.
You're not going to get a skewed square.
Right, so let's do that. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna take a photo here, and I'm gonna grab the photo right there like that. Let's get down there like that. Okay, there's my photo. No, did it give me the bottom? Oh, here's something, this seems silly, but you'll appreciate it. In the corner, coming from the edge, I put 2 little dots. And the reason I put those dots there, don't do that. The reason I put those dots there is that when you have the corners and you're lining it up, it's hard to tell where the corner starts and ends, and you end up going back and forth a lot. And when I have 2 little dots in the corner, it makes it faster. So that's what I do. See, these are little picky little details that All right, let's try one more time. Let's try retake. There. Pardon? Okay, I'm gonna take this while I'm thinking about it. Okay, question.
If you put an image that you've already drawn into an AI because you want it manipulated in some form, can that AI system appropriate your image and start using it and giving it to other people who ask for an image of X, Y,
You
or
have
Z?
no guarantees. And this was one of the early problems with, I don't know today, but one of the early problems with ChatGPT is people would use it to write computer code, and then someone else would be writing computer code, would have a problem, and lo and behold, some of the same code would come out for the, that someone else had put in, said, this is something I'm trying to write, what do you think of this? ChatGPT said, well, make these changes, and then someone else says, I'm trying to write something. And the same code would come out in these documented cases. So the companies that are doing it for computer work make a silo, so they have their own model, so it only uses theirs. And we could talk about that. But I don't know. The answer is I don't know. I don't think you have any guarantees. And it has been trained on, these things have been trained on all sorts of images across the internet. And you'll see, as an example, if you put in, show me a picture of Jesus, you'll see a lot of them that look like the Shroud of Turin, right? Just because there's a lot of images out there. And so, while the images are free, I think that you need to use your collective awareness and say, that drawing looks a little bit too much like an artist drawing that I've already seen, a painting that I've already seen. So we as artists, we tend not to wander into somebody else's sandbox for their style and what they've done. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And that's on you. I mean, it's free, and you probably get by with the copyright. So when you take a painting, a source image that comes from AI that is not copyrighted, right? They can't copyright it. And you put it in your painting is the thing that can be copyrighted. The more differences that you have between the source image and your painting, the safer you are for copyright. So I have one painting that if you go into Midjourney and you do a search on Jesus Christ, you are going to see a painting that looks actually an awful lot like one of mine, because I looked at it and I said, that is like, I can't improve on that. I did just a little bit, but I used it as a source, almost verbatim. Well, if someone else decides to go in and get that photo and make a painting, I'm going to have a hard time showing that I have a copyright to mine, or it's going to be hard to sue me. So a lot of artists will say, I'm not getting anywhere near that, and I respect that. But I'm finding that it works for me, and I'm willing to do that. And if I go to something and I want to do a contest or an entry, and some of them will say, no AI can be used at any point in this process, I'm out. I have decided to throw my lot in with the AI as a source. Yeah.
So did you just say, like, so she puts her image in there, that becomes open?
Yes,
So,
that's
so,
just
the-
right now.
so AI is a learning system.
Yeah, so she puts that in there and it remembers it, so then it's gone.
No, it's not
Can it be
gone.
I mean,
used by
it's not
others?
gone, but
That's what we're-
it's no longer her copyright.
No, it's not her, she still owns copyright to the original drawing.
Right, but you're
But-
saying
but-
that's used as a source.
You're
It
saying,
could be used as a
Yes,
source.
yes,
yeah,
so,
there's no guarantee.
so
There's-
is that where all these images that are not copyrighted come from? Is from people putting that in? Because there's millions on the stock.
Yeah, so what AI
where are
does,
these coming?
what AI does is it looks for similar patterns, and it would, if you asked for a picture of a child and a butterfly, it would look for all the patterns that it's seen of children and butterflies, and it might take part of this one and part of that one. It might move them around and change them. So in her case, if she put her drawing up, It might use pieces of it. It might use a drawing along with a photo and merge the two together. It might use skin tones. It might use lighting.
So it wouldn't use it 100%, but it
That would be unlikely.
It would,
That would be a copyright infringement.
yeah,
That,
right.
right, and the AI systems are, they do not want copyright infringement. So they work really hard to prove that none of all of the paintings that they've ingested
So it's a
can be
percentage thing.
reproduced exactly, right? So that, and we can talk more about
Yeah,
that.
we
but
can.
It
Yeah,
is,
go
it
ahead.
is,
I didn't want to.
it is likely that she would never see it. I would be surprised if it ever came up, but I can't guarantee it, is what I'm saying. Okay, so I'm gonna use this photo, I'm gonna go back to this, I'm gonna use this photo, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this larger, so it's in a new layer. I'm gonna pull it out to the sides like this, and I'm going to, I'm gonna press this button twice because what it'll do is it'll clip on the edges. That's something that I don't like, but I can use it to my advantage. All right, now I have this thing, and this, Mel, is what you were talking about. I go to distort, and I take the corners and I pull them down to the corners here. This is where my two dots are really helpful because I know where that corner is. And what do I do with those two dots? Well, if I remember, I paint over them, and if I don't remember and they show up, my repro guy knows enough now. He says, I removed those two dots. Thank you very much, Reg. So, all right, we're gonna get that there.
Yeah, that's the correct way to do that.
All right. Trust me, I have done, I spent an afternoon proving to myself that by using a distort in this way, that the alignment of all of the other pieces is true. And I can show you the test that I did on that. And the lines, I used a grid, and the lines vary almost not at all. So,
Brian, when you hit that little arrow twice, because I was trying to figure out how to get a photo in and snap it to the grid, and none of the snap to grid things work. So what is that little arrow button
what
hitting?
that arrow is it moves the layer. So I have this layer,
Yeah,
and the layer is the image that I
Okay.
pulled in.
right.
And this allows me to move the layer. And when you move a layer and you stop moving it, it clips everything outside of your canvas. And so when I took the picture, you remember that I had the thing in the middle and I had all this extra space around?
Okay,
It gets hard when you start pulling on the edges. You don't have enough screen to pull the corners far enough to get where you want to go. So that's why I do this kind of two-step thing that says, okay, I'm close, clip it, and then I can fine
okay, so
tune
that's a
it.
clip, the arrow is a clip.
It's a clip.
Okay,
It's
got
a-
it.
It's a feature bug way that it works. When you,
Okay.
when you
Okay.
leave it and take that arrow off, it gives you, it clips it, so I do that. All right, now what we want to do is we want to see how close I got. And I'm gonna go here, and this is the thing that is, I can't find where it's written, but I finally found it. You come into this thing and you do 2 fingers on that layer, and it gives you an opacity. And now I can look back and forth between those two and compare them. I have tried setting the opacity and trying to see through it. That's okay if you have really strong lines, but I find it's a lot easier to just go back and forth, and that's what I do. So we're gonna look at this, and we're gonna say how close, and I can zoom in on this too if I want. How close, let's start with the eyes. How close did I get on that eye? Well, that spot that's right here, I know needs to come down like that. I can see that. The eyebrow, I did pretty good on that eyebrow, so I can come up and I can bring that eyebrow over like that. How about that other eyebrow? That other eyebrow's a little far over, but I can take this like this. How about the top of the head? Her top of the head, that line right there is pretty good. And then I'm gonna come down and bring that, I want this in a little bit, and that's what I do. I just keep going. This needs to come down a little further. This needs to come in like that. I did pretty good on this line right here on the side of her face, right there. That looks pretty good. But her chin, down here on the corner, it needs to come down further. Can you see me draw and what's going on here? Okay, because I could show you just in the iPad, but you wouldn't really get it, I don't think. So I just go back and forth, and this thing needs to come out here. And that neck, I got that neck in just the right place. And I'm feeling really good about that. And, take that down like that. I have to make up what's out on the upper edge. I have one painting that I just dearly love, and when I did it, I didn't think about this tightness of the canvas, and I can't frame it in a regular painting. It has to be in a floating frame, or it feels just like it's in a bottle. Okay, now here's a case where I drew this line right here, thinking that it was the other side of her chin. But it isn't. It's way in the wrong place. But I drew this other line on there thinking that it was the hair, but look how close it is to that shadow. And the top of it is right where I want that edge of the face, that chin, to come up. So I'll bring that up there. This line right here looks like it's in a pretty good shape. And this goes up. What do I have to do there? I have to come over here. That bump on her hair, that looks actually pretty good. It needs to be a little taller. This needs to come out here. I need to come in here. This needs to go way out from there. In fact, I'm really surprised that I composed it way over there, but that's okay. That ear needs to be up like right here. There's no penalty for making a guess at this point, because I'm going to do it again. That neck needs to be over here. And let's look at the lips. Oh, let's look at the nose holes. How did I do on the nose holes? Yeah, they need to, the nose hole needs to be up here like this. And this one's like way off, right? Visually, if I erase on this substrate, on this stuff, it looks pretty good to my eye, but for some reason the camera will pick it up. So it will never really go away for the camera, but that's okay. All right, this side of the nose, I did actually not so bad there. Bring that up. Where did we get to on the eyes? And you get to a point where you have so many lines and you can't really remember which is I done, right? And then it's probably time to do another photo. And I'm going to do a little bit more here. So this eye right here, see how that little spot right there is right on the top of the bottom of the lid, and then she's got that. What is with the large furry caterpillars that some women put on their eyes? All right, I think that's where that eye is. It comes down like that. We do this, and we have that down there in this here. And this comes down. That top of my line, that line on the top of the lip, that's actually pretty good. So I want to stick with that. And we'll come down. That middle line's not helpful to me. But notice how the lower line is like right about there. Bring that down. This dirty smudge mark that looks like she ate a brownie is just a little high. Come up like that. And bring that over here. All right, now I have more marks that I can use. I want to do this thing right here. That's this very interesting shadow that she's got right here. Bring that down like that. All right, does it look better already?
Yes.
Right? Okay, so what I prefer to do is use my phone. My phone, I have a newer phone. It's so much better camera than this one here. I like it for a lot of reasons. So we'll do this one right here. Make sure I'm taking a photo. Come down here. I don't know how to show it. Take a photo. I usually, on that photo, I usually crop it first before I send it over, because it's just one less thing for me to deal with once it gets to the iPad. You can, if you feel that you're not getting enough contrast, you can deal with the contrast here and change it, and then it's gonna go, we're gonna get done, and we're gonna send it to my iPad. And I love the Apple ecosystem. What?
Oh, no, Wi-Fi.
Why did I not have, oh, why did I turn off?
Here, do you want the
I don't know.
password?
All right, we'll try one more time here. That, how are we doing on time? What time is it?
15 more minutes. We got-
Till 8:30?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna show you one more round here,
Okay.
and then we'll talk about some other stuff. We've talked about a lot of it already here, but I wanna talk about my tools. All right, she's gonna go to AirDrop to Brian's iPad. Comes over to the iPad, it's in the photos. I go back here to this, I unshow that layer. I'm going up to the wrench again. I'm grabbing a photo, now I'm inserting a photo. I'm grabbing the one from my photo collection. And now it's there. It's a little bit easier to work with than before. Where'd my thing go? And we go to distort, and we pull it down like this. And we pull it up like that. And we pull it over here like this. Pull it down like that. This is so much better than the way I used to do it. Like that. Okay, now I turn off that. I can come in here. I can go to my 2 fingers to turn on the opacity, and I can check to see how close I got. So my nose holes are looking a lot better now. My eyes are looking close. They need a little work, but they're close. My eyebrows, the shape of the head is pretty close. I got some hairs over on this one side. My shape of my hair is looking good over on the right side. I need some stuff down on the bottom. But I call this dialing it in. And so that's with 2 iterations. And usually the third one, I can get it almost perfect. And I do one more iteration on the little nitpicky pieces. And maybe one more iteration if I'm gonna use my pens or not. And then I do a wash on top of it.
What
Like
kind of
that.
pencil was that again?
This is
Like Conte?
Faber-Castell. It's just a regular, it's an expensive, but you could use a Crayola on it and you can do just fine. I like brown. Don't use one that's a watercolor pencil. You'll be unhappy, it'll disappear. So, all right. I think what we should do is we should talk about some of these other things here. So I'm gonna stop this, and we're gonna go back to my PowerPoint. Those are the steps that we talked about. We talked about AI. This link here, this QR code, and it's on your handout. If you go to it, is a document that I put together, and I keep it up to date on different AI services. I'm using Midjourney now. I paid for Midjourney, but I'll tell you that the one that impressed me with the best change in the last year is Meta's AI, which is Facebook, but it's their AI system, and it's free. So you can use that one. There's a couple of others in there that are free. I really liked Gemini, Google Gemini, but they went from free to paid because they had a time when they wanted people to try it, and then they say, okay, we're gonna pay for it. We talked about source images. We talked about ideas. Let me just show you. When I go into Midjourney, I can create, and it will. Am I connected to the internet? Yes. It will show you all the things that I've created lately, right? Did a Clint Eastwood. There's another story there. Some landscapes, and other kinds of things that I've done. There's the little girl that I asked for. You can see how far out she is. So this is when I've said, I want you to make a painting for me, and I describe it. And I can tell it that I want it in an art style, or I want it in a realistic photograph. It's a good tool. I think it costs like $9 a month or something like that. I've well paid for it. But the other thing that I can do with Midjourney is I can come here. I want to go here first. I can see what everyone else has done. There's a lot of people that are doing a lot of stuff. Give me an idea of something you'd like to see. Okay, I'm going to look for a cat that is fishing. Okay, let's say I want to do a painting of a cat that's fishing. I'm going to do a return. Come on, go look for me. Don't disappoint me.
Space cat.
Well, it's being really slow. Maybe it'll come back to us here. But it will show me what everyone else has done. Oh, there they start going. All right? So now I can begin to iterate on that and say, oh, I really like that. I had not thought about a kitten with a little cat. Maybe that's what I want to do. Or I can look at a style. Notice how this one has a very different, the second one has a very different style. And the one, the cat looking in the water, there's cats with fish, all sorts of ideas. And I can take that and I can go to the next step. I can say, how would I do my thing on that? This, let's see, you can see it here. This is something, my wife has been after me to do more paintings of children reading because they have sold really well at shows. My religious ones of Christ and those kinds of things have sold well. But these have, I don't have any more of these. They've all sold of children doing these things. And so I'm doing a series of children reading books and imagining what's going on. Well, this is actually not one visit to AI. This is multiple visits to AI. And I got one that I really liked the girl, but I didn't like the dragon, and I didn't like the girl with the sword. But I had another one that I had that had a great dragon and a great, so I've been kind of mixing and matching to put things where I want them. And that's where Procreate is a great tool, because I just bring it in and put it in different layers, and I can show you that. So what I wanted to show you, though, here was that this is a great opportunity for you to just go get ideas. Just even, you can look at, if you go, and you have to have a subscription to do this, but I can just go and I can just look and see what people are doing. And I can say, oh, I hadn't thought about rocking horses or microphones or a moonscape. You know, does that interest me or not? It's just a fun way to look at ideas, and you don't have to worry about stealing it because it's not copyrighted.
Brian?
Yeah.
So is there still a version of Procreate that's free?
No. You have to have an iPad. It's only on iPad.
Right.
And it costs $9.
So I'm looking on my iPad. My wife had to relaunch her iPad. My Procreate version is free, as far as I can tell. The option that she has is $12 a month.
That's not my experience. Talk to me after, or contact me later, and we'll figure out what it is, but that's not my experience. There's no subscription. If Procreate moves to a prescription, I don't know what I'm gonna do, because I bought this thinking that I was gonna do a lot of digital art, and I haven't. What I've used it for is planning, what if, and it's indispensable to me. Okay, we're gonna go back to this.
Could you talk a little bit about how to say the prompts? Because, you know what I'm saying, like how you talk to it? Like how you tell it what to do? Because you have to be pretty specific, right?
Yeah, but no. I mean, if you go in and say, you describe what it is you want. If it doesn't give it to you the next time, you say, and I want to be able to see the person's hands, right? And I want an aspect ratio of 2 to 3 or 3 to 2, or I want it square, and I want it to be a line drawing, or I want it to look like a watercolor, or I want it to look like it's a photo from a movie. And there's all sorts of places you can get free guides to words that help you get what you want. So I'm not gonna plan to teach that here, but you'll find pretty quick. And AI.meta.com, write that down, is free, and you'll get a lot of learning. You have to have a Facebook account. I'm sorry, it's not free. You have to deal with that. But it does, you can use AI to change the modalities. You can pass it in a line drawing and say, I want a photo. You can pass in a photo, you can take a photo of something and say, I want a line drawing. You can pass in a photo and say, turn this into a Van Gogh painting. And it changes modalities, and you can iterate. You get something that it gives you some choices. You can say, I didn't quite like that. I'm going to change the prompt and get something different and iterate to where I want to be. And the little girl with the butterfly, I got it close, but the butterfly was way over there. And I said, I can deal with that. I'm going to take it now where it's at. I can bring it in, crop it, add my own butterfly, and I'm good to go. Does that help? Okay. So, and I talked about different lighting. You can talk about a different angle. I got a different angle on the girl. Okay, let's go to,
So can you, in this Mid-Journey app, you can, that is an AI app, and you can ask the questions?
it's a website that you go to, but you give it a prompt. You say, make me an image that is a cat. We did a search on what other people had done, but if we looked, you can see what the prompt was that they got. And I do that all the time. If I see a Jesus painting, I say, wow, I really like that one. What prompt did they use? And sometimes they're complicated, and sometimes they're not. It's just luck of the draw. It is, you can steer it, but it's more like steering a cow down the road or a cat. It kind of goes the direction you want, but not always. And maybe that'll change. Procreate is another digital tool. You can manipulate the source images. You can do digital compare. You saw how I did the hand on that little girl. You can ask what-if questions. We did that on the hand. I used to use it all the time in landscapes. I'd look at my landscape and I'd say, it's not what I want. Would flowers help it? I'm always adding flowers to see if it'll help the landscape. And so I'd go in and I'd do a new layer and I'd put flowers on the layer and say, yeah, that looks good. No, that's too many flowers, right? See, you can use it as a what-if. Oh, and I have this thing, it does a progress video. And if you do all of these steps, let's see if I have a progress video here. It will replay for you. Watch this. Oh, you can't see it there. Can you see that? It takes all of those steps that I did and it puts in a little video, and I post it on Instagram, and everybody goes, ooh, we like seeing those steps. So anything that makes anyone go, ooh, I'm going to do again. We talked about AI, this. Okay, I want to talk about just some tools. Do you all have a paint remover, a squeegee? Go to Hobby Lobby and spend $5 and get one of these little squeegees. Because when you've got paint on your canvas and you put it in the wrong place and it's wet and you try to paint over it, it doesn't always work well. But you can go in here with the squeegee and you can take it out. You can scrape it right down to the surface. It's $5. I call it the eraser. Best $5 you're going to spend in the next week. What else have I got on my list here? Photo value scale. You saw how I used that. Take one home, take your mixture of paint, put it on there, and see how well it looks. Then you can see your values. We talked about the pencil. We talked about the alcohol marker. I don't buy really expensive brushes. I like these. They're called Splendor. You buy them on Amazon for, like $19 or $27 or something for a whole set. But I've gone to Hobby Lobby and buy their Master's Touch. I taught a class once and I bought brushes for people. And you can buy 40 brushes for $19. And they're not very big. They look like this.
Oh, yeah.
right? They're inexpensive, they have enough stiffness, but when I'm working on a painting like this, I can have 3 or 4 of them, and I don't have to clean them, because I'll have a light brush and a not so light brush, and a medium dark brush and a dark brush, and I can just go in and move the paint around, and it works easier for me. So they're cheap, but I like them. ABS board, so ABS board, I've got some over there. Come up and feel this so you know what it feels like. You can try drawing on it with this pencil so you get a feeling of it. But if you want to buy those, I'll put up my Venmo. Pay me $4 for an 8x10. It cost me like $1.50, so I'm making money off you. But I did have to sand it, and I did have to cut it. So they're $4, and if you want just a little one, a little 4x4, I have some of those. Pay me $1, take one home. I don't have enough for everyone, or I would do that. How many of you cut cardboard? Seems totally unrelated, but I've learned how to do shipping. Oh, pirate ship. If you do shipping of prints, you need to go to pirateship.com. It will save you 30% to 40% of your postal shipping stuff. So we talked about, I have this, I get my stuff.
Does the postal shipping supply?
Yes, so now we're over into the sale part,
Okay.
okay? And the sale part, I have my stuff done at, by Mitch Hughes at, picture this. You love Mitch, right? Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, it's good quality.
So you can come and you can look, and here's an original, and here's a print that I had done. He's very reasonable. And because he's so reasonable, I have decided to do my own rather than have someone print it for me, because the artist doesn't make very much. So I can do this, and I can make $25 back to me, and my print price, I can't remember, I think that this is like $49 or $39 for a mounted canvas. It's protected, it doesn't need glass, but if you need a place to get reproductions, consider that. And I will put this information in a document or someplace out on my website so you can get it. As part of my shipping process, I make a cardboard sandwich. I take a big piece of cardboard, and I take another piece of cardboard, and I put, information about the painting, and I tape them around the edges, and I put them in a poly bag, and I print a label on pirate ship, and it takes me about 15, 20 minutes. But cardboard is stupid to cut, and it drive me nuts because your straight edge, right, would never go where you want to. And I lost one pair of pants that went one place that I didn't want it to go. But I found this on Amazon, and it's a cardboard cutter. It's $30. I don't get any royalties from that. I read about a person who would get photos, and they would put them underneath the glass of their palette, and then they would match colors. I thought that was a cool technique, but it requires that you have a photo that is the right value. All right. This is my palette. My palette is not unusual. It's the Becky Tobiasen, mostly Dan Wilson palette. But for skin tones, I use titanium white, raw sienna, transparent oxide red. No, that should say raw umber, not raw sienna. Titanium white, raw umber, transparent oxide red, and I like a little bit of alizarin crimson with my raw umber. Otherwise, it begins to look a little sooty. And I also do a lot of transparency in my background because it makes things lighter. How are we doing on time? Oh, I'm over.
You're okay.
Can I get?
Yeah, go till 9:45, yeah.
Oh, we do?
10 more minutes. Yeah,
Okay,
go.
all right. I want to tell you about something that didn't work, but you could try, but I decided that I was not going to do it anymore. And it is that you can take a drawing, and remember, I'd just done 500 drawings, and I said, I ought to be able to turn some of those into paintings, and I don't want to spend the time drawing it again. Why would I do that? I've got this perfectly good drawing, how can I use it? And so I experimented with taking a drawing and gluing it to a board and putting clear gesso on top of it. And it works, except you have a couple of things. The first thing is that it assumes that when you did the drawing, you got it in the right place on the paper. And I can't tell you how many times I've done a drawing and I keep sliding over to the side or up, and when I get done, it's not in the right place. So what I would do when I try to sell those drawings is I'd crop them so that they would look better, but they weren't the right size for a canvas. So then I experimented with taking the image and cleaning it up and changing the color in Affinity Photo, but in the photo system, and then printing it and gluing it and putting gesso on it. And it works okay. But this is so much faster, and I get exactly what I want, that I've given up on that thing. I could show you, remember I showed you I talked about the Jesus in the desert who he was kind of kneeling, having a thoughtful prayer. That's one that I did this method. It turned out okay. The little girl with the butterflies, if you see that one, not the one I just showed you, but I have a little girl who's thinking about whatever in the grass, and there's butterflies around her head. That's another one that was a drawing that I took, glued, gessos, painted on top of it to try and shorten up my process, but it didn't really. It takes time to glue things, and then you got to wait a day, and the gesso's got 24 hours before you use it. I can go grab a canvas and I can be ready in half hour, 45 minutes to put paint on with this. Okay, handouts. You got the scale. My business card. Oh, let me just say something. So I have, in the last 6 months, my goals in painting have changed. I used to think that I was going to get rich. And then it was, at least I'm paying for my paints. And I meet a lot of nice people and I have fun, and I think it was last year, 2 years ago, by the time I took all my deck, I thought I'd made like $5,000, but by the time I took out all the expenses for the frames and all the shows, and also deducted mileage for my car, which I do, and some space for my house, I had profit for the IRS. It was less than $500. It wasn't very much.
At least it's a profit.
It was a profit. I did have a profit.
It's better than being a negative and being declared a hobbyist.
That's true. But what I found with business cards is I like printing postcards. And the postcards, I put my business information on the other side. And when I was in the Inspirational Art Show this year, she said she didn't want anything bigger than 4x6. And that really chafed me because I've been experimenting with 5x7 cards that cost 30 cents. But if you have a customer and they'll take a card, then I find that customers do not throw away a little print like they're going to throw away a business card, right? And so what I found at the Inspirational Art Association is that people would come through with families, and I would give one to all the kids. And the kids would take them, I've got a picture of Jesus right now. I don't put my business information on the front. I put it on the back. And at first I thought, you're really smart, Brian. You stealth business card into all these homes. But what I found was that I enjoyed giving away art to people. Yeah. And I enjoyed the conversations that I was having with people with the religious art. I meet a lot of nice people doing landscapes, but I have had some very personal conversations. I don't have it here, but I have a painting of a teenager hugging Jesus. And I had a family come through, a husband and wife, and they were looking at that. And they looked at it for a long time. And I talked to them. I tend not to try and natter people when they're looking at stuff. And it turned out that they said that looked like their daughter, and boy, did they wish that she was on a good path, and she was not on a good path. And the mother was, I could tell that she was distraught. And it was I had a great experience telling them that I have had kids and they have done things that I didn't want, and give them my personal hope for them that things would work out. And we talked a little bit about things that they might try. But I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that far more than making, well, maybe as much as making a little money off it, right? And so what my attitude has become is that the money feeds the machine, but that I'm making art because I like inspiring people. So, and that's a shift in my mental direction. So I take those little business cards and I print them by the hundreds because they're cheap, and I give them out, and if there's extra tonight, and I've got a box of them here, if you want to take one, and you want to take 2 or 3 or more of them, if you'll promise me that they won't end up in the garbage, if you want to share them with someone, that's okay. And I purposely didn't put my business information on the front because they're the right size. You can get a cheap frame at Hobby Lobby for $1, and you can and it looks pretty good, and it doesn't look like it's a business thing. And I give these to people all the time when I talk to people and they're having a bad day. So that's kind of where I'm at in my painting. But take some if you want.
Where have you found to print them that's inexpensive?
I'll put the name of the place. I can never remember the name of the place. So, but I get them for about 13 cents on both sides.
Oh, wow.
And I'm thinking of making some changes to them or doing some more so that I have more to do that with because I enjoy that. Okay. That's what I came to tell you about. We got through everything. We didn't do the demo with the paint, but it's not really very exciting. So, any other questions?
Name of that printing place, where you pay 13 cents on each side.
I will put that. Has somebody been taking notes about all the things I promised I would do? If someone will send me an email and say, you promised to do X, Y, Z.
I only heard the last one. What are they? I'll do it.
Well, I'll try and remember them, but I will put them up on my website, the Cragun.com website. I'll make a little section up there, or I'll put them in a Google Doc and a link or something. I'll make some more notes, because I know that that's something that people have asked about. So anything else that I can tell you or persuade you or help you with?
How do we pay you for those? That QR code didn't work.
I am at Ryan.Cragun